Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. If you're new to the channel, make sure to go down below and smash that subscribe button on YouTube. Got a bunch of different types of content dropping all the time. Of course, we have the Buccaneers who just lost to the Washington football team yesterday on Sunday, coming and playing against the Giants on Monday. A really interesting matchup. You know, they're coming off like 2 or 3 game losing streak right now, so they're susceptible. They're vulnerable. The Giants can win this game, but talk about a terrible weekend. Every NFC East team won. The football gods do not like us. We cashed in all of our luck for those Super Bowl wins 10 years ago, and we're still feeling the brunt of it. So hopefully this team can turn it around. Today's segment, we want to talk about the offensive scheme after the bye week, how they can use some of this their personnel, and they're getting healthier, right? Saquon Barkley is expected to return. Andrew Thomas is expected to return. Kadarius Toney's ankle and laceration on his thumb are healing. And, of course, Kenny Galladay's hyperextended knee. He escaped last game against the Raiders without any aggravation. So that's a good sign. They're going to have a lot more healthy options to work with now. Maybe Sterling Shepard working his way back from that quad injury he did suffer. Looked kind of bad, so I don't know if he'll be back, but, you know, we can hope for the best. Before we talk about how the scheme may develop, how Jason Garrett could take advantage of all these new healthy guys coming back to the Giants offense. Anthony, my friend, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for the Giants to get all these players back and healthy because that's ultimately what's going to help this offense turn it around. Of course, Jason Garrett, we can criticize his play calling endlessly. We can't really even make that many excuses for him, even though there's so many injuries because it's been that bad. But you can make minimal excuses, and you can concede that once these players are back and healthy, the play calling, the offense in general should improve with the added talent coming back from injuries. Now, I do want to mention the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is kind of interesting, right? Because now it looks like Monday night is their bounce back game. Like, that's how they're going to be treating that. I really hope that the Giants don't just get washed on Monday Night Football as the Buccaneers have their bounce back game. However, I do think that that loss from Tampa Bay to the Washington football team is also pretty damaging for the Giants in terms of their playoff race. Now they're racing against other NFC East teams, and right now we're 0-2 in our division, losing once to Washington and losing once to Dallas. So crucial game there that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers could not clutch out for us, but hopefully their losing woes continue onto Monday Night Football, and the Giants can get a big win on Monday night and get back into this playoff race.
Exactly. Now, I kind of want to have like an open discussion of how you think this offense should run. And you know, so far there have been inconsistencies at basically every spot, right? There's nobody saying that Daniel Jones isn't to blame a little bit of, because of course, you know, the fumble last week, there have been interceptions this year that have obviously been a little bit concerning, but altogether, I've been more or less impressed with the things that were big weaknesses now becoming less of a problem, right? The bad decision making, it's not as big of a problem. The fumbling, not as big of a problem. The interceptions, he had that one bad game against the Rams, but otherwise I've been pretty impressed with his throwing and really not throwing into, you know, bad coverage situations and making those bad decisions. But Anthony, when you're looking at DJ, is there anything that you're like after the bye week, he needs to do better? You know, and I think part of it is use your legs, but don't overdo it. You know, I mean, use those zone read, runs and take advantage of your athleticism, but don't take unnecessary hits. Go out of bounds, slide. You know, I think that's a great way for him to really maximize his talents. And how quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, like this guy or that guy, take advantage of, you know, bad offensive line play or whatever it might be. Not take advantage, but rather, I guess, supplemented by using their athleticism to their advantage and making something out of nothing. I want to see Daniel Jones do more of that. Make something out of nothing. Don't take sacks if you don't need to. If you see an opening in the offensive line, take it. Roll out to your right. Try and get a couple extra yards. I want to see him just, you know, and I think he's a high effort guy and I think he wants to win, but I just want to see him give that little bit extra effort and just try not to be robotic about it. You know, I feel like Jason Garrett's on the sideline sometimes, controlling this man with a little remote control. You know, I want to see Daniel Jones go off script, make some decisions on his own, try to pick up yards on his own. And he does it on occasion when he does, you know, that spin move against the Raiders to pick up that 4th down, looking like Tony 2 feet out here. I want to see him do more of that, Anthony. You know, when you look at DJ, do you think that you kind of agree with that assessment?
Yeah, sure. But when you ask me what I think the number one thing he needs to improve on is, I think he needs to be more aggressive. Of course, we've also discussed how Jason Garrett is ultra uber conservative. He does not like to throw the ball downfield, and that's kind of held Daniel Jones back quite a bit. But also, Daniel Jones has the ability, the autonomy to go out there, maybe call some plays at the line of scrimmage, and take some deep shots on his own accord. So I'd like to see more aggression from the Giants offense in general, more deep shots, taking a little bit more chances, doing stuff like that. Daniel Jones, I think, can improve on that one as well as Jason Garrett, obviously needing to improve if he wants to continue to have his job. But Daniel Jones, I think, does need to be a little bit more aggressive. He has been very accurate and very decisive when throwing the ball deep, and he has not had any turnover-worthy plays on 20-plus yard throws, according to Pro Football Focus. However, he's not throwing them. It's only 7.2% of his passes are deep attempts, which is the lowest number in the NFL. It's actually 36th now. It was 35th yesterday, but now on a minimum of 20% of 50 attempts, which is the max amount of attempts from quarterbacks this year on 20-plus yard passes, he has thrown 7.2% of his passes this season 20-plus yards, which is by far the lowest rate of all starting quarterbacks. So the Giants offense not throwing the ball deep at all. Daniel Jones not throwing the ball deep. Something has to change there. I don't know if it's more on Jason Garrett. I think it's more on Jason Garrett than it is on Daniel Jones, but of course, both of them share a little bit of the blame. It's time for this offense to get more aggressive.
Yeah, right. And I think that that's definitely a big point as well. Jason Garrett, surely has some blame, but I also sympathize with him to a degree, right? Jason Garrett has not been given the best situation either, with the injuries to the wide receivers, with the offensive line kind of in shambles, the lack of talent there, the lack of depth, the injuries to Andrew Thomas, who's basically holding the whole thing together. He wasn't really necessarily given the right personnel to really match his scheme. And I think Saquon Barkley isn't the right running back for his style. So altogether, they hired Jason Garrett to really, I think, kind of ease Joe Judge into this head coaching spot. But they kind of forgot to mention that, or forgot to consider the fact that their personnel did not match up with what Jason Garrett actually likes to do. They didn't get a possession receiver until this year in Kenny Galladay, and he's been injured for a good portion of the season. Though his running back in Saquon Barkley is not his preferred running back. He likes a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, who's going to run power style, churning out yards. That's why I think Devontae Booker's looked a little bit better. He likes those bigger tight ends that can get into space and block effectively. Kyle Rudolph is just washed, man. The guy is slow as molasses. It's really hard to watch him out there. It's some of those plays. I mean, he's getting better. They're finding ways to use him, but he's just so painfully slow. I'm sitting there like, I feel like he's in slow motion at times when other people are around. Like, his blocking is okay, but it's not great. Evan Ingram is just a kind of like I don't even know. They don't know how to use him. He doesn't know how to catch. Like, it's just a big mess there too. His tackles are kind of, a mess. I mean, Nate Solder's a turnstile. Matt Purr, that's kind of why I think Jason Garrett's been held back to a degree. So I'm trying to spread the blame out effectively. His play calling in the red zone has been absolutely abysmal. So that definitely on him. I definitely blame him for that. But the offensive line hasn't done him any favors, and neither has his health with his receivers. Daniel Jones has been the only healthy piece on that line so far this season, and he's been kind of put through the ringer thanks to poor play from around him. But, when we're talking about the offense coming off the bye week, I think this is an opportunity for them to kind of say, okay, we have some guys healthy. Hopefully Andrew Thomas is coming back. Let's see if we can replicate that Saints game, right? Because the Buccaneers, their defense is bad right now. Their secondary is poor. They're getting beat up. I think Tyler Heineke converted 11 of 14 third downs. Like, they really sliced and diced that Buccaneers team up. So I think Daniel Jones, this is a game where he needs to make a statement. Last year, he had a poor outing against the Buccaneers. He had a couple of really good opportunities, and he squandered them. He needs to come out in this game and show that he can take advantage of bad teams, especially with the healthy players kind of in tow now. They have some guys coming back. Kadarius Toney's ankle. Now, how do you use them, Anthony? That's the question I want to get into. When you see Devontae Booker and Saquon coming back, do you still want to see Devontae Booker still involved in the scheme? Do you want to see Kadarius Toney in motion a lot? Do you want to see him on bubble screens, shorter passes, those slant routes that he loves? How do you think maximizing, him and Kenny Galladay? You love Kenny Galladay as well. How do you think the offense can really move forward right now and, maximize the talent they have available?
Yeah, in terms of Devontae Booker, I really like his running style. I think it does work well in Jason Garrett's offense, and I do think that he should continue to see some playing time, see the field, and get some reps out there as a runner. Saquon Barkley, of course, that's your starting running back when he's back and fully healthy. When he's not fully healthy, he does not play well. Unless he is completely healthy, he doesn't seem to play well. So on that accord, in the receiving game, Saquon Barkley is an absolute beast in the receiving game. Like, he is one of the best receiving running backs in the NFL, when completely healthy, of course. However, with Devontae Booker, he does seem to be running the ball better this season. He seems to be hitting the holes harder, seeing the field better. So in that regard, I think that you kind of want to go with a split backfield in some ways, right? Kind of split carries in some ways until Saquon Barkley is fully up to speed, fully healthy. I do want to see Devontae Booker continue to go out there and play some snaps and actually kind of be the focal point of the rushing attack. So with that, in that regard, that's how I see the running game. But with Kadarius Toney, as you're mentioning, there's a lot of great ways that they can use Kadarius Toney. I think in that Dallas game where he had 189 receiving yards, they started to figure it out. However, everything that they did with Kadarius Toney in that game, I have not seen them do since that game, which is insane to me. It's bizarre. Like you saw Kadarius Toney just get it's so explosive, had 196 total yards on that day. And since then, he's not really been the focal point of the offense at all, which is just perplexing to me. I don't understand it. We saw him line up out wide versus Trayvon Diggs and run some disgustingly nasty, beautiful routes, like just great routes, leaving Trayvon Diggs in the dust, creating 10 yards of separation, turning upfield, and adding an extra 10 yards after the catch. That's Kadarius Toney. He is a good route runner. He's super shifty, super explosive, in and out of breaks. That's how the Giants need to be using him. Instead, they want to use him on a couple screens, which I get, definitely work the screen game in, but don't use him exclusively as a jet sweep, gadget player. They just keep using him as a gadget player, have him throw a pass a game. He's not a gadget player. He's so much more talented. He's not a gadget player. He is way too talented to be used as just a gadget player, and I think that he really put that on display versus the Cowboys. That game really showed everyone that he is not a gadget player. So I think that it's exciting that he will be back fully healthy very soon. I mean, he's been playing, but he has been dealing with some minor injuries. And of course, you also mentioned Kenny Galladay. Kenny Galladay, I don't think has been utilized correctly either. Sure, he's ran a couple nice slant passes and caught some balls, but has he even caught a pass downfield yet this season? This is the guy that led the NFL the last 2 years in deep receiving yards. Or he was second in the league, whatever. He's one of the best deep receiving wide receivers in the NFL, and the Giants have not connected with him on a deep reception yet this season. That's bizarre. I understand he's been hurt. However, when he's on the field and is healthy, they're still not throwing the ball downfield. I only have recollection of like one deep shot to him. It was against Washington on that Thursday night game, and he dropped it because it was like way too out of his reach, and it bounced off his hand. That's really all that I've seen. The Giants just are not utilizing Kenny Galladay in the deep receiving game. Again, they're not aggressive enough. That ties into what I said earlier about Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett. The Giants, man, they got to start taking more shots downfield, create some explosive plays. I believe that they do have the personnel to do it. I think that Kenny Galladay constitutes the personnel to go downfield, but they're still not going downfield. It's bizarre to me. Hopefully it's something that the Giants are able to fix after this bye week, get Kenny Galladay more involved, have him actually give him an opportunity to play up to his contract, because I feel like he hasn't even had the opportunity to play up to his contract when he's on the field. So hopefully they make that adjustment going forward and the Giants offense can score more points because of it.
Yeah, and I want to hit on Kadarius Toney and Kenny Galladay specifically, right? Kadarius Toney, as you said, kind of been used as a gadget player mostly. I think more of a decoy because of that ankle injury. I think they're very concerned. They just want him to be healthy enough to be on the field to attract attention and open up some, concepts for other receivers. So I understand that, but if that's not the case, if he is healthy, and every week Kadarius Toney says my ankle's fine, he's like my ankle's fine, but like I don't think it is. I think that's been holding him back to a degree. But at the end of the day, now we're looking at, 2 weeks later, and Kadarius Toney is going to be healthy enough to be a big focal point in this game. Now, I think that means getting him into those bubble screen scenarios, get him into space. Those slant routes are fine and dandy, but it's not enough. We need those deep crossers, but the offensive line needs to hold up. We need, rollouts and drag. Let's have DJ roll out to the right side, and then Kadarius Toney drag across the line of scrimmage from the left. Do things like that to get him into space with a couple of feet of room. That's all he needs. All he needs is a couple feet of room in the middle of the field to make guys miss. When you're looking at Kenny Galladay, there have been a couple of scenarios, Anthony, you love this concept, the dagger concept, where Kenny Galladay has feasted on dagger concepts. And I love when they put John Ross in the slot, Kenny Galladay on the outside, and they run that seam route, that streak seam with John Ross to draw that deep safety away, and then have Kenny Galladay just take that dagger right across the middle of the field, and that safety is being drawn to the deeper portions. I love that, and they did it a couple times, and it worked to perfection. That I'd also love to see a little bit more of some back shoulder throws to Kenny Galladay. Him and Matthew Stafford had great chemistry on back shoulder throws, and I think that the Giants just haven't really used him in ways. Use that radius, right? If you have that type of radius, use that wingspan, and you have Daniel Jones, and you throw that bullet pass to the sideline. He's running streaks, maybe a couple streaks, 1, 2, 3 streaks. Test the cornerback, make him think he's going long, and then just back shoulder that throw and off ball coverage. And bam, if he throws that fast enough, Daniel Jones, we know he has a pretty good arm to get to the boundary there. And I think he's actually better throwing to the right side. So maybe you want to do it to the right side. He can haul those catches in. He has a huge catch radius. That's why he doesn't have the best separation point if you're talking about how distance between him and a cornerback, but his wingspan is like 4 or 5 feet. So you throw the ball, the cornerback might be right on him, but if you throw that ball to the out, like right in front of him and throw it to the outside, that's 4 yards, or maybe not 4 yards, but 4 or 5 feet of separation right there that they're not accounting for when they look at those numbers and that statistic. So the Giants have to use him better. Again, he hasn't been healthy, so we really haven't even seen him been able to develop a lot of that chemistry with Daniel Jones. These are just things I'd like to see. And I think they would work very, very well. But Anthony, I assume you agree, like the dagger concepts, the back shoulders, like these type of things that we just haven't seen him when he's been on the field, which is definitely a bit concerning as well.
Right, yeah. Granted, he hasn't been on the field a whole lot. He's been injured. But when he is on the field, these are the things that we're not seeing. I absolutely agree with you, Alex. We're not seeing any built-in shot plays where the Giants are planning on taking a shot downfield to Kenny Galladay. We've seen a handful of them. Not even a handful, probably a fingerful. We've had like 2 or 3. I can count on one hand how many times I've seen the Giants take a schemed-up deep shot to Kenny Galladay. It perplexes me. I think it's bizarre. And that's ultimately my problem with this offense, with Jason Garrett, the play calling. It's not playing to the strengths of the players. This team is built a specific way, and we're supposed to play to the strengths of the way that this team is built. However, that is not what we are doing. The Giants are just not doing that. Kenny Galladay, yes, dagger concepts are great because it's a 2-man route concept, so it's an easy read for a quarterback. And of course, it also can manipulate the way that a safety is playing on the ball and create an opening in his own defense. So dagger concepts are great. But there's plenty of other concepts as well. And there's also plenty of moments where the Giants do face a cover 1 man or a cover 3 zone. So it's basically one-on-one outside. And all you have to do is just have Kenny Galladay run a double move or literally just run a go route. Literally just run straight downfield, throw it up, give him a shot. More often than not, he's able to come down with those balls because he is a huge 6'4" outside big body wide receiver. And if you ever watch how he played in Detroit, that's what they did with him. When there was a one-on-one matchup outside, just throw it up to him, have him run downfield, get under the ball, and then jump over the guy that's defending him. Babytron, that's his nickname for a reason. I have not seen him moss anyone yet on the Giants, but soon enough, I'm sure that he will. Hopefully, if they can start to make him more of a focal point in the offense, because when he was in Detroit, he was Babytron. He did go out there and moss people, and he was really, really good at those contested catches downfield. So, again, really hoping that the Giants start to utilize that aspect of his game more frequently.
Yeah, and I think they will, but it all just comes to him being on the field and gaining that chemistry with Daniel Jones. But the last thing I'll say is I do want to see Devontae Booker continue to be our bell cow running back. That doesn't mean the Giants can't use Saquon Barkley. I would like to see the Giants use Saquon Barkley and Devontae Booker like the Colts use Nyheim Hines and of course, Jonathan Taylor, who's absolutely feasting for my freaking my fantasy team right now, #1 running back in football. So the way I see this working is that Devontae Booker is the better scheme for Jason Garrett. He's the better scheme fit, hands down. The running ability is there. However, Saquon Barkley is still a good running back, right? He's still arguably a great running back when he's healthy. But I think that for scheme-related purposes, they should use him like Nyheim Hines. Use him as a receiver. Get him involved in the running game, but sparsely compared to what they do with Booker, who really churns out those extra yards. That's what we need right now. We need a guy that's going to come in and churn out 3 to 5 yards a clip. And Devontae Booker does that. Saquon Barkley gets stopped in the backfield more times than not. So I want to see Saquon Barkley used as a receiver, split him out wide. His biggest play of the season was a 50-yard touchdown catch as a wideout. So that's really what I want to see them do. Get him involved on those 2-minute drill offenses, those, maybe you don't have much time left or whatnot. That's what the Colts do with Nyheim Hines. They use him in those scenarios because he can hit those home runs, but also have a nice, healthy balance. You don't have to be running Devontae Booker as your every down back, but Saquon Barkley, I think that with the injury concerns, I think it's fair to say at this point, you need to start mitigating that. You need to start not relying on him as a bell cow because he simply can't be a bell cow. He gets hurt every year. His ankle is still injured. He's going to be coming back. He's going to be playing on an injured ankle. Can we rely on him in that fashion as a bell cow running back? Absolutely not. I don't trust it at all. I don't know if you do. I don't know what to tell you because he gets hurt every single year. So Devontae Booker, I think you rely on him to be that short yardage, first down running back, and then bring in Saquon, use them as a tandem, use them on the same play. You know what I mean? You can do things like using Saquon and put him in motion. Maybe an interesting concept would be, what if you had shotgun with Daniel Jones and Devontae Booker? You had Saquon Barkley out wide, and then you had Saquon Barkley in motion get a handoff on like an outside zone play. That could be an interesting concept. Use those pulling offensive linemen and get him into space with momentum. I think Saquon Barkley with momentum is better than Saquon Barkley standing still trying to pick which hole he's going to pick right at the power gap, and the offensive line is a disaster for the most part. So, I think that Saquon Barkley giving him in space, giving him the momentum to run into a hole, into a gap, would actually be better for him, Anthony. Do you think that might be something that Jason Garrett will do? Probably not. But do you think that's something that might be effective for a player like Saquon?
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of ways to get creative with Saquon Barkley and a player of his caliber, player with those talents. Again, we've discussed this before. I think that if you were to go to a team that plays that wide zone offense, similar to what they run in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, because they run a lot of outside zone, actually, similar to what they do over in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan loves the wide zone offense. It's basically his baby. It's pretty much what NFL teams are using, because Kyle Shanahan is the one that began that trend. Basically, those outside zone running attacks that propel these running backs, who sometimes are backups, and they just find so much success in the running game because of the scheme. The run scheme is so good and beneficial for them. So, yeah, I think that if Saquon Barkley were to ever leave the Giants and go to a team like the 49ers or any team with that wide zone offense, I think he'd be phenomenal, because his playing style seems to fit that very well. It's kind of just quick. You get it, and then you go. And you do have some momentum, as Alex is mentioning. It's not really like you're just doing a halfback plunge, halfback dive, I formation, like we're playing 2005, NFL football. That's how the Giants play, but it's not 2005 anymore. It's 2021. That's a huge difference in amount of years and amount of time and amount of revolution and progress that the NFL has made in that time. So for the Giants, it's time to start trying something else. Sure, the running game has definitely improved in recent weeks. The run blocking has improved. In turn, the run game has improved, but also the running style of Devontae Booker fits that 2005 rushing mold. But once Saquon Barkley re-enters the lineup, he doesn't fit that mold as well. So the Giants are definitely going to have to adjust, at least to some extent, and call some plays where Saquon Barkley is able to get the ball on the move, maybe some sweeps, some pitches and whatever, outside zone, get him on the run, get him outside of the tackle box, and hopefully make some great plays in the rushing game that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are kind of our base ideas for the offense coming off the bye. Things need to change. As Anthony said, aggressiveness, take shots, be risky. This offense is just not good enough to be sitting there and hoping that Devontae Booker is the one that takes off on a 50-yard run and scores. We need to be more effective. The Raiders luckily had a bad rushing defense, and the Buccaneers are really struggling right now without JPP. Vita Vea's gotten injured. Richard Sherman's out. Their secondary is kind of in shambles. They have Antoine Winfield, but their cornerbacks are not good. This is an opportunity for the Giants to take advantage, right? They do have Devin White. They do have Levante David. Kadarius Toney, he's going to make any of those guys miss, right? Any of those guys, they're big linebackers. They're heavy. They're extremely athletic. But I'll say this, he made, what's his name? Demario Davis on the Saints. He made him look like an average. You know what I mean? He made him look like an average. So I think that Kadarius Toney is the catalyst moving forward. Personally, if he's healthy enough, the offense needs to be running through him, because ultimately he's the one that's going to pick up those first downs. He's the one that's going to move the chains. And if they have all this focus and attention going onto into Kadarius Toney, who's dominating in the shallower intermediate portions of the field, it's going to open up the deeper portions, which is where the Giants can now say, we're going to be aggressive. Let's push Kenny Galladay up there in man coverage. Let's toss him up a 50-50 ball. Let's push John Ross down on those deep posts. I love those deep posts by John Ross. He absolutely kills it. Daniel Jones has the arm for it. I was watching the games yesterday, and I got to say, I was watching Jared Goff underthrow wide open receivers downfield. I was watching quarterbacks underthrow balls tremendously. And Daniel Jones, he has a pretty decent arm. Like, he leads receivers. If he ever throws a deep ball and he misses, it's because he overthrew it, not underthrew it. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Like, he has a good arm. Push that ball downfield. He can gun that thing. He can throw a receiver like John Ross open. If John Ross is neck and neck with a guy and Daniel Jones tosses that ball 20 yards in front of him and he has to run underneath of it, I am confident that John Ross is going to win that race. And I think that Daniel Jones has the arm strength to give him the lead to do so. But it ultimately comes down to the offensive line. The return of Andrew Thomas should be a big factor in that, guy. So make sure to subscribe below on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. As always, my friends, hopefully your fantasy teams had a good week. We'll be taking a look at the Buccaneers this week, what we're up against, their rankings, some keys for the Giants to win this one, and how their defense kind of performed last week against Washington. So hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your week as we prepare for this big Monday night game. And we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Giants video.